Hey, welcome to How to Write a Novel on a windy ass fucking dock. But I think I got some noise reduction techniques that'll make the wind okay. So I was thinking how when I did this show for like the first 2 months where I did an episode every day, it was kind of cool because it was just like what is on my mind. Any dumb thing, it really doesn't matter. Just whatever thought I had about something about the process of writing. Where now that I only do them just whenever, intermittently, I guess it's changed that tone a little because it's like, is this important? Is this a useful thing to say? And I think that's, I'm going to try to buck that feeling, that trend or whatever. It's like, it's better to just record whatever. I've had a couple of dumb thoughts. I just didn't happen to have my recorder on me. Then I'm like, oh, those would have been episodes. And again, it's not like there's some kind of big answer, not some kind of big... Even like I was saying, as I've said many times, if I had one big answer or like one big thing to recommend, it's the working everyday thing. But I've gotten a few, some correspondence based on this podcast, I think just because it's called How to Write a Novel. One guy literally said like, yeah, I just typed that in and here it is. But even that, like my one thing, he said that the working everyday thing is just hard for that to happen. So even though I feel like that's that's the main thing I've got to offer, hopefully there's something else that's useful then. If that particular little piece of advice isn't helping, then hopefully I got some. Whatever. Who knows all this shit I rambled about? Because that's the other thing. It'll be like, some people agree with this stuff and not this stuff, whatever. But I guess that is maybe what I'm trying to say is maybe it's just the the process, regardless of what the process is like the more important thing. Actual advice or like, here's how you do it or some kind of guide, it's going to be different for every person anyway. So it's just talking about writing, just to hear about somebody who's in the process, I think, is more valuable overall. So even if I just have some stupid idea that seems dumb, why not try to get it on wax? But today's topic, it's actually the exact same as the last topic, is the idea of micro work. And I'll get a little lowbrow on you, but this is something that has happened to me quite a few times in my life. So I'm still in Toronto. I'm in the Beaches neighborhood. There's a nice little laundromat near my place. My Airbnb doesn't have laundry. So I was just doing laundry. So the laundry's in, but I need coins to use the dryer, so I went down the street to this bagel place, got a couple bagels so I'd have some change, break a 20. Back to the laundromat, fucking put the clothes in the dryer, and then I realized, oh man, I gotta use the bathroom. Fucking bagels, man, heavy ass bagels in my belly. But the laundromat doesn't have a washroom. For such a nice neighborhood, there's certain things that are sort of lacking in the Beaches. But anyway, I just went down to the beach and, it's getting a little cold. It's the end of September. It's windy as shit. It is sunny, and that's one thing that cracks me up about Canadians, is Canadians tend to base their wardrobe and their behavior entirely on how sunny it is, not what the actual weather is like. Maybe more so in Vancouver, but people in this Beaches neighborhood of Toronto act a lot like West Coasters. It's like a little enclave of the West Coast in the Midwest. A lot of kids in like tie-dye shirts and stuff. It's weird to think that there's these kids who grow up in Toronto but have a kind of pseudo OC life, like where their memories of their childhood are going to be weirdly like beach culture, even though they're in fucking Canada. But yeah, down at the beaches, not a particularly nice day, so it's fucking empty down here, and there's like, a little beach house place you can rent kayaks and stuff that has a public washroom. So I stopped in there, and it is like a fortress of a washroom. You remember that old Seinfeld episode where George is talking about how he wishes that the stalls and bathrooms went all the way down to the floor? He doesn't like that you can see under them and see people's feet. Well, that's what this place is like. Great big door, boom, totally like concrete on all sides. It's like a little fortress in there. And I try to be mindful of not, hogging bathrooms. If there's only one stall, I don't mess around. I just use it and get out of there because I don't want to get in the way of someone else that needs to use the fucking bathroom. But if it's a place like like a mall where it's like crazy, there's like 12 or 16 different toilet stalls, And here there's only 2, but nobody else was there. If someone else did come in, there's another stall available, and I was just kind of listening, and nobody came in. I was all by myself because it's just the lonely ass beach. So I pulled out my phone, and it's like funny, just in the time that I just sat there kicking back. Oh, I just thought of the song I gotta play. Kicking back, taking a shit. But I got work done, it's ridiculous. Just kind of settled in. It's like, let's just let the fucking bowels move. Apologies again if you think this is gross to talk about, but, let's not rush. Let's just take my time, let nature take its course. And I don't know, it's probably in there 10 minutes maybe. But I pulled out my phone, and so one of the things I'm working on is I'm trying to make a little video game, a little narrative-based video game. I made a test game. If you go to my website, keithcourage.com, you can find a link to it. It's called Mr. President. It's a 5-minute game. It's free to download. It's with this program Ren'Py that people use to make anime games, visual novels. And I made a quick little linear comedy game just to teach myself the basics of how it works. So now I'm working on a longer, more serious game that it's this story idea that I had years ago that I've worked on. I started working on it as a story. Then I thought it would be cool to make as a game. Then I thought maybe as like a movie script, almost like a play. But I'm back to the game thing because basically what I want to do is it's totally linear. It's just a conversation where you can choose different choices in the conversation, but they don't matter. None of the choices make any difference. It still all leads the same way. It all goes in the same direction. And the inspiration for that is kind of mostly this game, Kentucky Route Zero, that it's like an adventure game, but, like story-based. There's not a lot of puzzles or anything. But it really doesn't matter what you pick. Like there's even parts in Kentucky Route Zero where they really deconstruct the trope like crazy, where not only are you picking dialogue for your character, you're picking dialogue for the other character. That's how much it doesn't matter. Like you're not playing this game to try to produce an outcome. You're playing this game just to have your own experience, Like these choices are only there because it's what you want to say. And as long as you know that and you're comfortable with that, it doesn't feel like a non-game or a pointless endeavor. It feels fun because this is what we're doing. We're just choosing this stuff for ourselves to change our own experience, and it's neat. It's instead of that idea of the video game as like a reward giver, of like a video game as a slot machine or something, like you do the thing and you get the digital reward. This is the opposite. This is really, it's just happening in your head is more important than what's happening on the screen. And I like that idea, so that's why I went back to the idea of making this story that I'm working on into a game, even though it doesn't need to be a game. It's linear, it always ends the same way, but I like that idea of just giving the person choices and kind of making them complicit in what's happening, even though I'm not giving them an option not to. And basically what it is, it's this weird idea I had this idea in like 2012 or 13. I was hanging out at this Starbucks a lot. Or I'd get up early in the morning, go to the Starbucks, and actually it was a really good period. I was getting a lot of work done in that time. It was just dark-ass winter, so I was like getting up just before the sun came up so that I could get some sunlight in my day, try to get the seasonal depression to back off a little. But it was in this part of Toronto over on the other end by like a mental health hospital, so a lot of kind of crazy homeless guys came in. And I just started imagining this conversation between kind of like a well put together, high-strung, type A kind of lady who lost her job. And she's at the coffee shop looking for a new job, and she's very stressed about her life. She didn't like her old job. She knows she's not going to like her next job. But what do? This is society. This is how it works. There's no other choice. And she's just unhappy. And she stumbles into like realizing almost as like, but she also doesn't know who she can talk to because she's an asshole. She has this really unpleasant personality that she's always trying to hide and always trying to not to let people be aware of just these thoughts she's having and this bad attitude that she has. So she stumbles into this homeless guy who hangs out there a lot. She realizes that if she just buys him coffee and muffins and shit, he'll just sit with her, and he's just kind of her agony aunt, She can say whatever she wants, and she can insult him, and she can say mean things and tell her real opinions about what she thinks about overweight people or the homeless or anything, fucking hipsters at the coffee shop. She can just be an asshole to this person and he'll just absorb it, and he's seemingly not really even picking up on a lot of it, but maybe he is, we'll see as things go. And it's just this long, probably unpleasant conversation, this one-sided conversation. Anyway, I've been working on that, where just it's another thing I pick away at a little bit every day. Let's just get a little further, a little further, a little further. And even though it's ultimately linear and most of the decisions immediately have no effect, every once in a while I have it branch off a little bit, very temporarily. Like, you can choose 3 things to talk about, and she'll talk about one of the 3, and then it, loops back into the main path. And that's another reason, I guess, why I wanted it to be a video game, is some of these, conversations aren't necessarily that great. It's not my best work. It's not that interesting. Like, if I laid it all out as a story and you just have to read through all these, I just feel like it'll get tiresome. So it's like, do I leave this stuff in? Do I cut it? It's hard to decide. But if it's a game and it's just an option, then it's not so bad. It takes so much of the stress off. Maybe I've got these 3 ideas that aren't all that great, but instead of making the reader deal with all 3 back to back to back, just pick one. Pick one of the 3, go through that little path, and then we'll move on to something else, one of my better ideas. So it's a neat little project. And last night, I couldn't sleep. I woke up at 4 in the morning, and while I was laying in bed, I had that thought of this part of this story I've been working on. It's like she asks the homeless guy about why he never responds and why he doesn't talk very much, and he says it's, people get angry. He doesn't like to talk to people because he doesn't like when they get upset, and he doesn't understand why they get upset by him. She asked him about his coat and where he got it from, if he realizes how bad it smells. And there's a third thing about just his general level of craziness. Do you hear voices? Do you talk to people or whatever? So I had that idea last night at 4 in the morning of I should make those 3 be a branch. You only pick one of the 3, not you go through all 3. And then I kind of forgot that. So today I'm in the little stall at the beaches, pull out my phone, go to my folder, and I've got everything arranged so I don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where I was at. I've just got it here's all the stuff that the first draft is done. Here's the folder of stuff I'm still working on, and they're all numbered, 600, 700, 800, with a 0 in the front. That's important, so it can go all the way up to 9,000 before I run out of space. So I just get to the point that I'm working on and open it up, and then I remembered about yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, I had that idea at 4 in the morning of maybe these should be a triple branch instead of 3 segments that happen one after the other. So just while I was sitting there, I just went back and read over the previous bits, because I was finished the part about the coat and finished the part about why he never talks. I'm working right now on if he hears voices. I read through them to make sure they would work as individual segments instead of all together. Just made a couple little alterations so that all worked. I also checked to make sure there was nothing that great in any of them. If there's anything in these parts that I really want a player to experience, because it's particularly important to where the relationship's going to go between this lady and this homeless guy, then, I got to make sure it's on the main path, that it just happens, that you don't have the choice to miss it. But there's nothing like that in these parts. So I just rearranged the folders. I just renumbered stuff. I made I'm going to have to write a little lead-in part to this to what is the little conversation that leads to picking one of these 3 options. Basically, I guess all I did, long story short, is I rearranged stuff, but I rearranged it in a way that is progression. It's yeah, this is where I want to go next. This is better. And even if that's all I do on that story today, that's, I guess, kind of the point I've been trying to make about doing little bits of work every day, is it adds up. It adds up incredibly fast. The difference between moving 1 step forward and moving 0 steps forward is, it's 0 and 1. It's infinity and nothingness. It's everything. Either you're moving forward or you're not. There is no middle ground. So in 10 minutes, while I was taking a shit, while I'm just in the bathroom in just some weird little lonely beach house on the windy beach day and no one's around. It's just kind of quiet and I'm just kind of there. I got some work done on that project today. Like, it's the definition of found time. Like, most of the time, it's like I'll sit on a bench somewhere. Or like I said last episode, I'll be on transit. Transit's a great one. Just at a coffee shop. And it's another great benefit to not having a proper smartphone. I know it's weird to people that I don't have a smartphone with data plan and stuff. And it does make my life a little harder sometimes. Like, I can't look up stuff whenever I want. I can't use Google Maps. I can't call Ubers, Like, I feel like there's a lot of benefits, obviously. But the benefit to not having it is not giving yourself other options. Like, when I'm home and I've got the Wi-Fi on, I sit at my computer, I check my fucking email, I check my Twitter, I check my Facebook, I check YouTube subscriptions. Then I check them again in 20 minutes, and then I check them again half an hour later, and it's just I can't not. It's very hard not to. It's a tough habit to break. But if you don't have the option, it's easy. There's no option, I had no option except to either just sit there and be bored out of my fucking head, waiting for the bagels to push the shit out of my system. Sorry again. Or I could get some work done. I guess I listen to podcasts and music while I walk around, but those are the options. I could just sit there staring at the walls, listening to something, or I could get a little work done. And I guess that's why I wanted to bring this up, because that is there is no found time better than just the bathroom. I'm not saying make this necessarily a daily habit. I don't work in bathrooms very often, but sometimes, my last book that I wrote, my nonfiction book about the video game The Last of Us, which is also at keithcourage.com for free. Feel free to go check it out. There's a part I didn't even remember writing. It was funny when I was going back and editing it, where it's just called Party Break. And I was at a bar, apparently. I honestly don't remember this night. I was probably pretty drunk, but I just was in the stall in a bar. And I wrote, how amazing is this? I'm working on my book right now while I'm drunk at a bar. This is the future, man. This is the benefit of the future. You don't have to sit at your desk with your fucking feather quill and your ink pot. And you don't have to sit at your big heavy typewriter. You can work anytime, anywhere. And it's just a little bit of work, but it adds up. And at the end of the day, I really feel like that is it. Every other piece of writing advice is it's ornamental. It's maybe it's applicable, maybe it's not. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not. Maybe it fits your particular disposition, maybe it doesn't. The only actual true are you a writer or are you not is do you fucking write? At the end of the day, is there more done than there was at the beginning of the day? That's it. That is it. And it's always tough. It's hard to push oneself into working sometimes. It's hard to force yourself to work. I'm not one of those guys, people that say, I don't like writing, but I like having written. I don't feel that way. I do like writing. I like the process of being in that mindset. I like being in that zone. I like being in the situation that this character's in and just kind of taking myself there and imagining it. I like that. I like that once I'm doing it. That before moment is tough. I don't know why. It comes up a million times. It's, again, The War of Art, that book by Stephen Pressfield. That feeling of resistance. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But for some reason, it's hard. It's hard to get started. But as you learn your own rhythms, as you learn your own natural inclinations, you just got to make it as easy for yourself as possible. And in my case, that's not having a smartphone attached to social media and YouTube. And God forbid, sometimes I think, I wonder, what if I had a smartphone with data? I think of all the times that I would have just been, on a long bus ride or sitting in a library or something and oops, I've drifted to the part of the internet with boobs on it. I just know it would have happened. I just know it would. I think it's okay to deny yourself these options. Don't put yourself in the position of having to expend energy on a daily basis to make the right choice. Just don't give yourself options. Just don't give yourself the opportunity to make the wrong choice. Just don't do it. So yeah, in my case, it's an old smartphone with a little keyboard attached in my pocket. And it's just like, maybe I won't sit down at the gilded fucking notebook and the big mahogany table and write every day. Maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'm not a classic writer in that sense. Maybe I just have to nab these little moments throughout my day. Maybe when I stop in for a coffee somewhere, or I am fucking, again, like on a bench looking at a scenery someplace, or just walking through a park and I sit on a rock, whatever. Sitting on a bus, or again, just in a bathroom, you know? Writing doesn't have to be fucking fancy. It doesn't have to be a big ritual. There's not a lot of time in the day. Days go by quickly. There's so much lost time in a day, though. So much dead space. Like when you think about these people that are incredibly productive, you think of your fucking Elon Musks and your goddamn Bill Gateses or Steve Jobs back in the day, whatever. You're like, I can't believe how much these people are getting done. But they have the same time as you. You just gotta find those moments and fucking take them. Seize the day. So there's a fucking ramble for you. Thanks for listening. I don't know. Hope that was fucking handy in some ways, listening to me talk about poop. And speaking of the song I'm gonna play, this fucking song, First Day Out. Man, I don't know, I just haven't thought of this song in ages, but it's an old Insane Clown Posse song, and this is a cover version done by their friends Twisted. Twisted is like Insane Clown Posse Jr. I don't know, they're just like another band like that. And it's just about this guy who just got out of jail and now he's going on a date. I just love it. He's like at a restaurant and the chick's been gone a long time, you know, going to powder her nose and like, she's probably kicking back, taking a shit, but I ain't saying nothing though. I ain't saying nothing about the motherfucking hoe. The late 90s, early 2000s, very sensitive time in clown-based rap. All right, so that's song of the day. Thanks for listening, and gotta go get my laundry. Adios.
Now they let the gates up, so I bail. 6 shitty months pick me up from the county jail. Smart ass mouth, even though I paid my dues. Phone toilet roll blankets and the rubber shoes. But I ain't nagging. Here comes my people in the hoopty mother dragon. Ain't been in the who ride long, and the 2-liter of moon mist is almost gone. That's the kinda anxious to drop below. Told my man hook me up with a chick that he know. The bitch said motherfucker pick me up in 3. Can't bitch, Semper don't ride just 3. We can eat around the corner at KFC. You can take a cab and I'll pay the fee. When she showed up, damn, she was out of luck. I forgot my wallet in the glove box on my truck. Put the tab on the cab and the dinner too. With a knot in my sock, bitch, I thought you knew. Dressed to impress you with dentine gum. And I was drunk as fuck and smelled like an alley plum. I'm chewing on my food like a carnivore. Dumb bitch staring at me like an eyesore. Then I plopped my face in a bowl of soup and slurped every last bit up through my missing tooth. The bitch jumped up faster than the race and told me had to powder her face. Since she picking up the tab, you know that I'ma go for mine. Garçon Chablis, 54 vintage wine and a steak well done and an order of shrimp. Jamie Madrox playing a pimp. She's back now and her hair ain't fixed. Probably in the bathroom kicking back, taking a shit. But I ain't saying nothing though. I ain't saying nothing about the motherfucking hoe. What's up, bitch? You ready to break? Besides, how long can one fat bitch take? Quit snacking and pay the shit so we can go to your crib and watch a horror flick with your daddy.
You're employed? Shit. Nah.
Your daddy's pretty fresh, sweetie pie. I mean him, let me grip his ride. Besides, he slipped me a 50. but then again I'm kinda shifty. Now I wanna fuck, so we headed to my house. Fuck sitting with your parents on the couch. Dad, I got a bitch in my room and I smile. Take your ass to the bar and don't come back for a while. A juggalos known for smacking hoes, but I need to bust nuts, so I switch to the Mac mode.
You know I love you, so why don't you just let me fuck you? Look, bitch, I know you's a freak, so let me get a little kiss on my cheek. And I fuck to go with that. Come on, info, and let me hit that. Tell you what, you let me stick it. And I got a leftover piece of chicken for you, you little sewer skate.
You nasty little pipe smoking money hungry bitch!
That's the shit, Jay. 85 bucks an hour, and you wanna play. And that was that. A little smooth talking and she was on her back. You never guess what, my first day out, and I caught my nut.